This week on the Brew and Shavers SEC Sports Podcast, an update on the NCAA men's tournament as well as the women's side of things. Will Wade returns to LSU, and who is the most likable coach in among the men's Final Four teams? We'll hit all of that right now. March Madness is fast coming to a close, Darren, and sad time because we still have SEC baseball, but it is an incredible event every year, even though the SEC, at least on the men's side, didn't do as well as we expected.
Or hoped. Yep, exactly. Yeah. You know, when you look at the teams that we had going into it with 10 teams in the tournament, the thought that we would be in the Final Four and be talking about no SEC teams, you at least thought we were going to get in one. It's really surprising that we just have no SEC teams, and they were quality teams. It's not like, Florida had a strong front court, strong back court, big guys. There were so many things that you look at the teams and they have going for them, and now here we sit with UConn, whatever.
We'll get to that in just a minute. Yeah. But before we go any further, would you hit that like, subscribe button? It means a lot to us. Post some comments. That helps us as well. We appreciate
Absolutely.
you watching, and it would mean a lot to us if you would do that. So let's talk a little bit about the men's side of things, because there was high expectation about the quality of basketball on the men's side in the SEC and how that would translate in the tournament. A lot of us had Florida going to the Final Four, possibly winning the whole thing again.
That would be me. That's it. Only took 2 rounds for my bracket to be in tatters.
And then Iowa happened. You have Iowa to thank for that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, you have Florida to thank for that, but anyway. Yeah.
But it just, when you look at overhead, you look at the whole thing in perspective.
Yep.
There were 4 men's teams that made the Sweet 16. Tennessee was the only one that made it to the Elite 8.
Yep.
And when they went head to head with the elite of the Big Ten, it was ugly. So
nasty.
Again, I feel like we were talking about this with football.
Yep.
Has the Big Ten surpassed the SEC? Because they did this in football. Now we're seeing it in basketball. What do you think about that, Darren? I know it pains us to even consider this.
Well, I think it's unfortunately, I think we really have to talk about it being a legitimate conversation on even more so on the football side. But, at least like you said, Florida was the national champion last year. And we did have 10 teams in the tournament. We did have 9 of those 10 teams at least make it to the second round. So they won their first round games. The only one being Georgia. And man, was that St. Louis game ugly. That was bad, Georgia. No. There was nothing good about that at all. So, I think the thing that's kind of scary is we talk a lot about the SEC kind of beating themselves up and just taking each other out throughout the process of the year. But I think the point you're making of when you see Tennessee go up against a Michigan, an elite Big Ten team, when you see Arkansas go up against an Arizona, Florida gets taken out by Iowa. Is the SEC right now fighting each other on a mid-tier level instead of a top-tier level? As much as it pains us to say it, like you said, I think you have to be realistic about we've got to see some better things happen next year in the tournament. We need to see the SEC start to take that step up to where we're talking about at least an SEC team in the Final Four every year and a couple in it every once in a while. Because there was a time when that was the conversation, when we were talking about 2 SEC teams in the Final Four every once in a while and at least one team every year. So I think we've got to start to see that. Or, you look at, Michigan and Illinois. There they sit, 2 teams in the Final Four. So
I think Florida for the SEC was an outlier.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is they were better than Iowa. They're a really good team. It's just part of the March Madness. They got upset. If you go to the tournament, as much as these teams do, at some point you're going to have a heartbreaking upset.
Yeah,
Florida
absolutely.
experienced that this year. So, but the other teams, I mean, Arkansas was super hot
Yeah.
going into this tournament and playing very well. And they run into Arizona from the Big 12
Yep.
and they get beat 109-88. It's the worst loss in NCAA tournament loss for John Calipari
Yep.
ever. So I think you have a really interesting point, Darren, that is the SEC most of the teams playing at a mid-tier level and
Right.
not an elite level?
Yeah, I think that has to be a fair question. And if there are people in the Big Ten slinging it, and saying, "Here's what we think," I don't know how much we can argue right now. I think the conference has to really step it up. Now, we did have some shining lights. Texas coming out of nowhere as an 11 seed. They played some good games against some good teams, including taking out Gonzaga. That there's some beauty in that for sure. But yeah, I think we've got to the conference has to really step it up next year to prove that we're not just fighting to see who can make it to the Sweet 16. That this conference produces national championship contenders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the test case for this, the Exhibit A,
Mm-hmm.
is Tennessee, Michigan.
Yep.
Rick Barnes is a Hall of Fame coach. Tennessee is a quality team. Michigan was just a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was definitely, you watch that game and you say, this isn't Tennessee having a bad game. There is
No.
a gap here.
Yeah. Yeah. Michigan they were so impressive. I mean, just their everything they did. You could see through a lot of that game that the Tennessee guys were being left being left behind at times. The amount of open shots that Michigan got, the amount of that there was that one pass about halfway through the second half where the point guard from Michigan just kind of tossed it up and over. And the center for Michigan just reached up over the Tennessee guy and just pulled like, "You're not, I will swat you away," and just like he wasn't standing there, and made the shot. And you saw a lot of stuff like that happen. Michigan looked bigger, stronger, and faster than Tennessee.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun Final Four. If
Yeah.
I had to bet, and I don't know for sure, but I would bet that the tournament officials are praying that either Arizona or UConn win. Because if we have an Illinois Michigan championship game, you're not going to set a record for ratings.
No, that is that. Well, there will be people that are interested in Michigan because there is that history with Michigan, but you're right. Michigan, Illinois, a Michigan UConn would probably get some attention, but a Michigan, Illinois, yeah, that's not. I don't think that's going to go well ratings wise.
I think if you have Michigan, Arizona, it'll be one of the most watched championship games in recent history.
Well, and I mean that's the Final Four game we're excited about. I think that's going to be an incredible game. I think
Mm-hmm.
to me it's pretty obvious whoever comes out of that game is the national champion.
Oh, that's right. Michigan and
Yeah,
Arizona are
yep.
playing each
They're the
other.
Final
Well,
Four
forget
matchup.
what I just said. That's why you're on the show, Darren. That's right. Illinois is playing UConn. I guess I was just wishful
And
thinking out there.
how did UConn make it to the Final Four? Let me think. Oh, they Christian Laettner to Duke. That's how they made it to the
Well
Final
done. Whoa, I love the phraseology there.
Four. Every Kentucky fan in the universe just sat back and went, "This is the moment I needed." When that happened, they did. That was just unreal.
We grew up going to church, and you remember being a kid in Bible class, and you learned about this wicked King Herod, and it said, when Herod died, no one cried. That's the way it is when Duke loses in the tournament, and nobody's crying. Nobody's crying outside of Duke fans.
That's exactly right. And to see it go down like that, because that Christian Laettner moment, that's one of the most classic moments in all of it, March Madness. So to see Duke with an even crazier turn, I mean, how awful do you feel for the one kid that just didn't? All he had to do was hold on the ball. It's it's all he had to do. So yeah, horrible. And I did see a funny. I guess it was this morning, maybe an interview with the freshman from UConn that hit the shot. He
Mhm.
passed it. He said, "I hadn't hit a 3-pointer all night," so I passed it to somebody that had, and he passed it back to me. So I thought, well, I guess I'll shoot it. That's fantastic.
There are so many moving parts there.
Hmm.
I don't think it's fair to put the spotlight on the Duke kid that made the errant pass instead of holding on to it. Because look, he played well all night.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
Connecticut made a play on the ball. They got a turnover, and
Yep.
then they had a kid hit a 30-foot shot. So there's a lot of moving parts, and it's
Exactly.
just, man, there's a lot that happens over the course of a game, and
Yeah.
to put a spotlight on one thing that a player
Yeah.
did, that's that's just lazy.
Yeah,
That's just lazy.
I agree
You know
completely. I agree completely. And even with him making that turnover, what are the odds that that kid's hitting that shot? I mean,
exactly,
that was a
exactly.
hail mary of a shot,
Yeah.
but it was beautiful, man. You talking about nothing but net? It could have been any prettier. It was a nice shot,
Hmm.
and I just hate it so bad for. Oh wait, never mind. I don't.
Yeah.
Never.
I'm glad you put Mary at the end of that other word because I was getting ready to hit the censor button. I'm like, this is going to be our first ever
Our first
censor.
ever beep. What do they call it? Um, like a dump button. Is that what it is in the radio? Like the 7 second delay. You were getting
Yeah.
ready to hit the dump button.
You've been watching Coach Hurley at Connecticut too much, man.
That dude needs a dump button. But anyway,
So the Final Four is set: two Big Ten teams, one Big East team, and one Big 12 team. And we'll be back next week as we'll talk a little bit about the championship game, who's in it. Of course, no SEC teams on the men's side, but there is hope on the women's side.
absolutely.
As we are recording, the Elite Eight is being played, and there are two SEC women's teams still alive: Texas, SEC champs, and Perennial Powerhouse, South Carolina. They
Exactly.
both have the potential to make it to the Final Four. We
Yeah,
don't have any results from the Elite Eight games because of our recording schedule. If you had to guess, Darren, you think both of them get in?
I do. I would genuinely be surprised. I mean, Michigan is a strong team on the women's side, just like they are on the men's side. But man, that Texas team is tough. And of course, on the other side, South Carolina TCU, like you said, perennial powerhouse. That team is so strong and so big and so fast, and they get the reward of playing UConn. Congratulations, you made it to the Final Four. Here's your present. Ugh. That's rough. But yeah, my guess would be that South
Well, in
Carolina and
all
Texas.
fairness, Darren, the UConn women have been beat up all year in that tough conference that they play
That's
in. I
true.
mean,
Yeah,
so they're a little battered and bruised coming into this
you
tournament.
have to fight the way to your top. You have to fight the way to the top in that conference. It is tough. Never mind.
All right, that's two fan bases we've alienated on this show. Let's go for the trifecta, the hat trick.
All right, I'm for it. Oh, here you go. I'll go ahead and I'll take care of it. Quick side note: Tennessee Vanderbilt played in baseball this weekend, and Vanderbilt swept the series. There you go. That's our third one. I went for the now
I
back to
thought
basketball.
maybe I thought maybe you'd stay on the women's side of things. Out of the women's teams that made the tournament, Tennessee and Georgia were the only two
Yeah,
that lost in the first round. So
and
disappointing.
yeah, it's unfortunate for Tennessee because we talked about how this year obviously did not go the way anybody wanted it to, but they could at least control the conversation a little bit if they had a strong postseason, and they were one and done in the SEC tournament and one and done in the NCAA tournament. So not a positive thing there for that team. It's going to be a tough off season. They got a lot of work to do and some things to get done.
Yeah, it was disappointing. I think Kim Caldwell, she rights the ship next year.
Yeah,
But if you have another season like this year, that seat's going to get awfully warm.
it, you cannot, like we talked about, the expectation is not if you're going to make it to the postseason, but what are you going to do when you get there? How
Mhm.
far are you going to take the team? So to be one and done in both the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament, that's not going to go well if that happens again next year, especially if they don't have a stronger regular season. That's going to be really, really tough for her.
And another team that ended on a disappointing note was the LSU Tigers. Predicted by some to go all the way to a matchup with
Yep,
UCLA. They were upset by Duke. Was not the end of the season or the career that Flau'jae Johnson saw.
absolutely.
Very disappointing in Baton Rouge. But again, if you make the tournament year in and year out, you're going to have those heartbreaking losses. So I think, of course, Mulkey's her her job is secure, and
Oh,
it should be
absolutely.
secure because
Her,
she's a
her,
fantastic coach and she
yeah,
does a terrific job at LSU. It just didn't click the way that people were hoping it would this year.
her seat's an ice bucket. I don't think we have to worry about
Mm.
it getting hot in any way.
Speaking of LSU coaching seats, we have a
Oh,
new coach. Well, he's not totally new. He's coming back to Baton Rouge.
is this the weirdest story possible? I mean, let's be honest. I know it's LSU and it's your beloved Tigers, but is this the weirdest story possible? I mean,
No, no, this is Louisiana, Darren.
well, now that's a
This
valid
is
point.
far from being the weirdest story possible.
I guess, I guess at least the governor didn't drive over and pick him up. I guess that could have made it more.
This is not Huey Long wanting to address the team at halftime.
Exactly. Exactly.
Uh,
But
it is interesting. Will
yes,
Wade
a
fired
crazy
for
turn.
violations, things that are legal now.
Exactly.
He comes back after looking like he was going to try to build something at NC State. He gets invited back to Baton Rouge. And as he said today in his intro press conference, they're going to make history. Either they're going to accomplish their objectives and win the SEC, win a national title, or he's going to be the first coach fired twice from LSU. So you got to give him a little bit of credit for
Yeah,
some humor there.
absolutely. And just to be fair, and I think I would say the same thing if it were Vanderbilt. I wish him all the best. I hope LSU, because like you said, the thing is, the stuff that cost him his job the first time when things were going really well is stuff that's not even on the radar now. That being said, not a fan of the whole he left NC State by his agent sending an email. I'm not a fan of that. That being said, I think a lot of that stuff is just the way coaching world works, and it feels weird to us because we don't live in that world. So I'm not making it this just big ugly thing, but I do. I It's going to be interesting to see what he does at LSU because things were going well. Things were going really well the first time he was there. So
There's no question he can coach. He
yep,
wins. My issue with what happened the first time was he lied to
yeah,
investigators, and that bothered me. And maybe he had his reasons. I don't know the whole story. I'm an outsider looking in,
hmm
uh, but evidently they worked through all that. The administration is confident in bringing him back, and so Will Wade's back at LSU, a 7-year contract for
wow.
$30 million. They've committed more than $12 million for the roster. So big pockets. Pockets are opening up all over the state of Louisiana when
And
it comes to LSU athletics. It's
what
all
a
in.
what a coaching stable. You look at football, baseball, men and women's basketball. What a coaching stable right now in LSU. I mean, pretty impressive.
It is impressive, and if they don't win, it's going to get impressively ugly.
Oh, yeah, it can't. Um, Nobody can have a Brian Kelly experience with this because I think with this coaching stable across all four of those, the expectations are ridiculously high, as they should be. And so if it turns south, if the program falls apart in the first couple of years with Will Wade, or if Lane Kiffin is not winning, it's going to get hot and heated quick on both of those accounts.
Yeah. Uh, the guy that replaced Wade is the guy that Wade's replaced now, McMahon. They gave McMahon 4 years, so I think Wade he's got 4 years at
Oh,
least.
absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
men's basketball at LSU is not. Well, let's just say it's not the top of the food chain right now.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think you
That's
could
fair.
argue women's basketball has more popularity and pull in Baton Rouge right now than the men's
Oh, I think definitely.
side does. Lane Kiffin is another story. Golly, if you have ooh, I mean, he knows what he's getting into. I hope he knows what
Yeah,
he's getting into. When people put out that much money to bring you in, there you have no choice but to win.
you got to do it. That's exactly right. And you got to win quick.
So really, when you look at it, I think that Jay Johnson on the baseball side has proven he can win.
Absolutely.
His seat is ice cold, like Mulkey's. I think
Yep,
Johnson and
absolutely.
Mulkey, two great coaches. Someone was talking to me about LSU baseball struggles early on so far in this season. They just won their first SEC series against Kentucky.
Yep,
Johnson will figure things out. You
absolutely.
might not go back and win the College World Series, but he's going to figure things out. And that's the thing that when you have a good coach that you're confident in, when you go through these bad spells, these dry moments, you know they're going to right the ship.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, Brian Kelly never gave those vibes that he was going to right the ship.
He never gave anybody
And McMahon
anything.
wasn't able to as well.
No, never had that moment that gave anybody this, either one of them, that gave anybody this, oh, okay, he's going to, yeah, we're good. There was never a moment that grew confidence with the fan base, with either one of those guys.
Well, let's end the show with a question for our audience.
Yeah.
We want to hear your feedback. Who is the most likable coach in the men's Final Four? The most likable, the coach that you think would be cool, hang out with maybe? Who's the most likable? Here are the candidates. From UConn, Dan Hurley. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing, Darren?
Number one in your hearts, Dan. Oh, wait, no.
How about him almost headbutting the referee after
Oh,
his kid makes
have
that shot? And like,
mercy.
what's going to happen here?
Yeah, no kid.
Can you imagine if the ref had called a tech?
Oh, that would be one of the greatest storylines ever. Ref calls a tech, Duke hits two, and wins the game by one. That would have been unreal.
I don't know who the AD is at UConn, but he would be bailing Hurley out of jail probably
Yeah,
that night.
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But he
All right,
still
so
could be
Dan
the most
Hurley.
likable. Oh wait, no,
Dan Hurley is our first, not our first choice, but this is just the first coach we've mentioned. Dan Hurley from Connecticut, Brad Underwood from Illinois.
yeah.
Done a fine job with the Fighting Illini.
I think he could win most likable because what do we really know about him? So I mean, why not?
Dusty May from Michigan.
Your favorite.
Oh, I thought that was your guy.
Well, I mean, he doesn't offend me. I'll say that. How's that?
And our fourth choice from Arizona, representing the Big 12 down in Tucson, Arizona. Great Mexican food down there, by the way.
Really?
Fantastic. First time I went there, I think it was in 1997. They actually had healthy Mexican food places.
No kidding.
Amazing. Think
Huh.
about that.
Yeah, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. So some great food down there in Tucson. Uh, Tommy Lloyd, I almost
Yeah.
lost his name. I was thinking about healthy burritos.
You were so lost in the healthy burrito. You had
I'll
nothing.
take another serving of those organic black beans.
Yeah.
Hit me up. Hit me up.
That's fantastic.
So, out of those four coaches, Darren, who is your choice for most likable?
You know what? I'm going to have to go with what's the Arizona coach's name? I just went blank.
Tommy Lloyd.
Lloyd. I just could not get his last name. I had Tommy, but I guess I'll go with him just because now I want to go hang out with him in Tucson and eat healthy Mexican food. I want organic black beans. So I guess I'm going to go with him. How about you?
He's my pick too. I don't know. Some of these coaches, of course, all we know about them is what we see on TV.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe Hurley might be a great guy if you sit down and had a cup of coffee with him. He might be wonderful to visit with. I don't know. All we know is the persona we see on TV.
Right.
Underwood, I just don't know much about him.
Exactly.
Dusty May, I'm kind of on the fence with him. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Tommy Lloyd. Maybe we just go down to Tucson and say he'll be like, "Oh yeah, brewing shavers,"
That's
and
right.
we sit down and have some enchiladas and maybe some Baja tacos or something.
Nice. I think we do it. I think road trip.
I mean, he probably lives down. I mean, probably great seafood. He probably has some oceanfront property down there.
What's the next line of that song? From the front from his front porch, he can see the sea. Is well, we've traversed some curves tonight. We've been all over the place.
Find another sports podcast that used the word traverse this week.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Seriously, though, we'd love to hear who you think is the most likable men's coach in the Final Four. Leave us a comment. Let us know who you pick and why. Maybe you've had a personal encounter with one of these guys. We'd love to hear that story to kind of get more insight into the coaches that we're talking about. We thank you so much for listening. Enjoy the men's and women's Final Four. We'll be back next week to talk about the championship game and any other breaking news in the SEC. Until then, y'all take care.
Have a great week.